Healing is not one of those things with a set destination. That's continuous work. Trauma can be one of those things that you suppress for years, not touch it. Your senses get activated and you realize, I never dealt with that. The suppression part is not good. Managing or processing is where you want to be.
Welcome back to another episode, man. This is a special episode for me, man, because this guest is someone that I've known since we started the platform, basically since we started the platform. And when I first started this platform, I was like, man, I feel like I know what I'm doing. I feel like I have a good idea of where we could go. But I just didn't have a lot of people that I felt like I was like collaborating with in the space. And so like it was kind of uneasy for me because I'm like, man, I don't really know. Like I was dealing with that imposter syndrome a lot. And so this guest, James, was one of the people that we had a collab with that made me realize like, okay, I know a little something. I'm not wilding, you know, like I know a little something. This is someone that has a following, that acknowledged that we're building something that actually poured into me and not just surface level pouring in, like actually checking in, seeing where we are with everything. So I'm very, very appreciative. You know, and so like we're going to have a really dope conversation about healing, all the things, bro. I'm grateful for you being here. For those of you guys that are new here, that are listening to this episode for the first time, we want to say thank you. Thank you. That's how we've gotten to this point, is just new people listening, sharing. If somebody shared this with you, first of all, we want to thank them, but we also want to thank you for taking the opportunity to actually check us out and check out what we're doing. This conversation is going to be all things about healing. This is what this platform is about. We're going to be leading with vulnerability by having conversations about the things that we as Black men don't normally talk about. And the goal is to help the community to grow. So whoever shared this with you really, really values you and thinks that you're someone that needs this information, but thinks that you're also someone that's going to implement it. For those of you that are existing listeners, you've listened to an episode before, or you've shared something on our Instagram page, again, thank you. Without you, we don't get to this point, right? And so with that being said, I want to get into the conversation. But before we get into the conversation, brother, I want to ask you how you doing, man.
Man, I'm doing good, man. I feel good. I'm just happy to be here, man. Happy to be in a space with you. Like you just said, it's I think I am one of the ones who are willing to help people because I know how it feels to be on the other end of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just happy that you were one of the ones who listen and implement stuff because you know how somebody will give you information all the time, but sometimes you don't follow it. Sometimes you like, that's what they told me, but I ain't gonna pay attention to it. But
Yeah.
I'm happy that you did follow through and, you surpassed, I guess, even where you thought you would be right now. And you still growing, so I'm happy that the momentum is there, not only for you, but for me as well, man.
Nah, absolutely, bro. And even we just recently had a conversation where we were talking about the YouTube thing.
Yeah.
And you were like, yo, bro, you got to get your ads on YouTube. You bugging. I was like, yeah, you're right. And we just started the ads, bro. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Bro.
Nah, man, because my channel has been monetized for maybe 2 or 3 years, and then it went from being monetized because I took a year break and everything because I was doing traveling and speaking and, parenting and being a husband and stuff like that. So now, I'm back, active, but I just remember how I was being monetized and I see where you are. So that's why I gave you that little tidbit, man. And again, like you took it and ran with it. So I'm glad to see that you're about to make that work for you as well.
Nah, for sure, bro. For sure. And so I want to get into your upbringing, how you got to this point. Very polished. Obviously, you know what you're talking about, but I feel like, there's a lot more layers to you, just like with every human being, right? There's a lot that you've gone through that I didn't even know that you went through until we started like doing the research to figure out the episode. So one of the things I learned is that your father passed when you were young.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So,
talk to me about that.
Yeah, so my dad died when I was about 5 or 6 years old.
Okay.
And when you're young, you don't really know the impact of a father or parenting, I guess, So I'm the oldest of 3, so I got a younger brother and a younger sister. So my dad died from a heart attack. And from there, my mom, man, she was or is the guru of life. She's one of them people who she's 4'11", and what the rod thing is, my wife now is about 4'11". So anyway, my mom is 4'11", right? But she's like 7 feet tall.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, she had strokes and epilepsy and stuff like that. So just imagine the amount of pressure it was for me as the older brother, with 2 younger siblings, no father, mom has strokes and epilepsy or whatever the case is. So I grew up fast at an early age, which, to me now knowing like, oh man, that amount of pressure was, you weren't supposed to have that because you're supposed to have a childhood or whatever the case is. But anyway, being in it, you don't think like that. You just think like, I got to help mom. I got to take care of my brother and my sister. Anyway, long story short, being that mom had epilepsy and strokes, random times, it led social services to get involved because I think one time she was like unconscious or something. So, of course, in their mind, like, there's no way you can raise you can't raise your kids like that because what happens if you're unresponsible or you don't come back or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
Anyway, they stepped in. They wound up taking me, my brother, and my sister to foster care. So we wound up being in foster care for about 2.5 years, and then some things transpired within that foster care. That foster home, that family, and we had to be separated. So from there, we went to separate group homes. So for me, that was like a traumatic experience in itself because now, like, I'm away from my brother and my sister. What's going on with mom, just so many different other things. So the impact of a father that wasn't there, of course, it wasn't his fault, but, it's one of those things of Black American families, supposed to be, because there were other father figures within those group homes or within the community and things like that. So yeah, losing my father early definitely impacted me, I would say.
Well, first of all, you talked about you having to grow up quickly, right?
Yeah.
Was there ever a moment in time that you realized, like, man, my childhood is not normal compared to other people's childhood? If there was, what was that moment?
Yeah, just happened to hustle, so by the time I got to high school, I was like ultimately an entrepreneur, and I don't mean that to say like I wanted things based from a capitalistic standpoint or just to have things. Like I knew I had to acquire things because I got to make sure my brother and sister's great. I got to make sure mom good. It just still was that let me hustle, let me go and get it. So for me, that's what it was. That childhood was pushed aside, like riding bikes, playing on the playground. Nah, I needed to find something to get money and help my family who weren't in a position to do so. So by being in a position to do that, I had to make other sacrifices too that removed me from having, I guess, an adolescence.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is I elected to go to a military high school.
Okay.
And I did that for a couple of different reasons. So Franklin Military High School, from a historical standpoint, was one of the oldest military high schools within the country, so going there, you just know, for me, I felt like I can get disciplined. I can, from a hustle standpoint, like I ain't have to buy clothes because we had to wear uniforms every day.
You really think about all that?
Bro, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So my mindset wasn't stunning all that. So the money I did make from hustling, I'm giving it to my brother and sister. So because they were at traditional school, so obviously I wanted them to have clothes and shoes and stuff like that because it's being in the group home, like the state give money, but whoever the owner of the group home is, they may not provide or it may not be enough for them to shop on a regular, whatever the case is. So that was a couple of reasons why I went to the military school, so I wouldn't have to do those things for me, but it allowed me to do those things for my brother and my sister.
So you was making a lot of sacrifices.
Bro, yeah. And, now being 39 years old, you look at it like, oh man, like I supposed to have been, playing football, basketball, but military school. So we had the option to do it, but I elected to do things at the school like drill teams and stuff like that. So I was able to excel at school on those different teams and, rank structure wise as far as leadership. I was second in command there, for a lot of those years there. And then when I graduated, within the top 5, top 10 or something like that. And, on from there, man.
Yeah. So let me ask you about foster care, bro.
Yeah.
Cause I feel like that's something that if you haven't been in it, you probably just don't understand the dynamics of it, right? So for the person that has never been to foster care, never had like foster siblings or anything like that, what is it what is it actually like compared to what we may think it's like? Like, what are some myths that?
I mean, I don't want to generalize it because each foster home is different. You know what I'm saying? Like, realistically, Superman had foster parents, you know? If you think about it, you know, and just think about where he went, you know, Shazam had foster parents, or he was in a group home or whatever. So I would look at it like that, just to have people, you know, have a positive perception about it. Because of course you heard the horror stories of it, you know, abuse in the home or substance use in the home. So all of those things may happen too, but it is some good sides to it, because you have, or supposed to have, like this nurturing environment to supplement the lack of family structure that you may previously had. And just to think about it too, like my situation was different. It wasn't like my parents were on, you know, drugs or something like that, or they tragically died. You know, my father did die, but it wasn't to the hands of violence and stuff. So you do have children who are uprooted from that home for those reasons and then placed in this environment and system, and it could be a culture shock. But to me, it was more of a change. Like the most difficult part of it, and one of the reasons why is probably on your list of why I became a therapist now, is because of how being a ward of the state, like therapy was one of those things that was mandated. Right. So, you know,
talk about it, yeah.
Which was a good thing in theory, but in practical settings, it wasn't one of those things that was beneficial. And I say that for one of the reasons why I'm a Black male therapist now. Being in the system at that young age, it felt more of a check in the box. You know, it felt like, you in the system, you got to come here. So it wasn't a relatable process. It wasn't one of those things to where I'm going to express how I feel about being uprooted from my family, separated from my siblings, having to grow up too fast, or just wanting the process of something that happened in the foster care home or in a group home, whatever the case is, like that. So it was more a check in the box, because you got this older white man or this little Asian lady. I'm this Black kid from the projects. You know what I mean? Like, educate me on why I'm here. Like, what can we do for me to express my emotions or open up or feel like, what am I missing or what I didn't gather from having a family? Like, you know, so it was none of those things. So it was out of touch. It wasn't cohesive. So I didn't feel that I was benefiting from therapy. And then, of course, a lot of people feel that way too. But just growing up and understanding, like, yeah, it can be some benefit to it. So years later, of course, that's one of the reasons why I came back and said, you know what, I got to do this.
Yeah, because of your experience. So take me through what you were actually going through versus what you would have liked. Because you talked about it a little bit, but like, what were your sessions like then versus what you think it should have been like?
Like I said, it felt like a check in the box. It felt like one of those things is, all right, cool, you're in a foster home or you're in a group home, you got to be here weekly. You know, so like AA or something, you know, why am I being reprimanded? Why does it feel like, so opposed to like an experience. I can tell you how my sessions are now with people who are reluctant to go to therapy. And it's more like, oh man, I ain't know it was like this. It's cohesive. It's me trying to understand you. It's not a chore to you. It's, you know, those parents who will hit me back or send an email saying, hey, my son can't wait to get to therapy. He can't wait to tell you XYZ, or he talked all the way home. Like, to me, that's how it's supposed to be. But it wasn't that, because it was so unfamiliar and unrelatable just based on the differences from those people in the seat. Like I said, it was, you know, I don't think I had a Black therapist until I paid for one. You know, that was years later. So just imagine you got these kids or people from different environments, you know what I'm saying? So those environments could be urban environments, they can be countryside, they can be rural, they can be, it can be a diverse group, because in the foster care system or the group home setting, it can be children from everywhere. It's very eclectic. It's very different. So to only have one or two type of therapists was unfortunate. And of course, then we talking 90s and early 2000s, it was mostly white or women or Asians. You know, it was rarely Black women or men within the field, which now is still a minor number, but it's increased, you know.
So I know you talked about, like, obviously you dealt with not feeling like you had a good or a good experience with therapy when you were in foster care. You go to military school, right? So now you're learning discipline and all these different kind of things. Then you were in the military, right?
Correct, yeah.
Right. Then you did deployments.
Yeah, two deployments.
Two deployments. Yeah, go
Well, when I was in the group home setting, so I was in foster care first in the group home setting because some things transpired within the foster care home.
Yeah.
So in the group home, I did about 1 or 2 years and I emancipated myself at 16.
Okay.
So
what does that mean? Yeah,
emancipation is becoming a legal adult.
Okay.
So pretty much technically my parents or guardian was the state, the Commonwealth of Virginia.
Okay.
So at 16, I emancipated myself. So I was my own legal adult.
Okay.
So, when my peers or fellow students had to get their permission slip signed or take their grades home and get a parent to sign it and come back, like I was able to sign mine
Sign on your own.
right then and there, because I was my legal adult.
Yeah.
So that also led me to grow up early, because now, still no resources outside of the resources that I'm creating for myself.
Yeah.
So, staying in hotels, I was able to, depending on the hotel, just show that I was emancipated and they'll let me sign. But other ones, you had to get somebody 18 or older to get the room for you or whatever the case is. So, or either, couch hopping to different friends and stuff like that.
Yeah.
In addition to surviving,
Right.
So I was in survival mode for a long time,
Yeah. So how long was that period for you? Because you said 16 you emancipated.
16 emancipated, and then until my freshman year.
A freshman year, like
College.
school or college?
Yeah, college. Yeah.
So what was that, like 18, 19?
18, yep. I didn't join the military until my sophomore year of college because I decided I didn't want to live like that.
Right.
So college year, so I graduated high school, 18, typical, got accepted to 7 colleges, decided to go to St. Paul's College, which no longer exists, one of the oldest HBCUs in the country.
Okay.
But they closed down for financial reasons. So anyway, I go there because out of the 7, this one was the most secluded one. It was in the middle of nowhere. It was like 2 stores in the town. It's in Lawrenceville, Virginia. You got to drive forever just to get there, So I'm like, I go here, I can focus, I can just be secluded.
I was going to ask you why you,
Yeah, I went for those reasons, man, part of that discipline. Because think about it, in my mind, if I go to one of these other colleges, I got accepted to Coppin State, Morgan State, Virginia State, like a couple other ones, I don't remember. It was about 25 years ago. So anyway, I wound up going to that one for that reason. Like, it's nothing out here. If we want to do something, you got to go an hour away. They had 1 grocery store, probably 2 stoplights in the town. I'm like, yeah, I can focus. I can lock in. So anyway, wound up going to college, doing pretty good. Classes was decent. My major at that time was criminal justice because obviously, I didn't want to do business because I felt like I don't need a degree in business to understand business. I can obtain business from doing business, whether that's bad business or learning on the job. So criminal justice, I'm like, all right, cool. I go to law school, be a lawyer, help people, whatever the case is. So anyway, my freshman year, technically I'm still homeless, outside of living on school. So culture shock again, just being in the country and then realizing like, oh, spring break coming up, fall break coming up, winter break coming up. Like, what are you gonna do? Everybody gone, school shut down. So being that the school was so small, I was able, it was only 1 dorm, 1 male dorm, 1 women dorm. My room was on the first floor, right there by the door. So first break came up, everybody's going home, school sending out the papers like, hey, make your plans now. Cafeteria's gonna be shut down, gym gonna be shut down.
You panic? Were you panicking?
Bro, yeah, because I'm like, I'm back to it. I got to drive 2 hours to Richmond, whatever the case.
Did you have a car?
Yeah, I had a car.
Okay.
So I'm like, yo, what I'm gonna do? Like, fall, I'm trying to make plans. I'm thinking like, all right, cool, whatever. So anyway, no plans. I had people probably that I can say, yo, it's a couple months and let me use your couch or whatever the case is. I could have done that probably. But anyway, I elected to just stay there and lock in. So I put a piece of, a block of some of the windows so I was able to open it up.
Word.
In my car, I had a microwave, I had a Foreman grill. So when
was hustling, bro.
School was vacant, so I'm moving back in, Right. I was able to stay there. So during that break, it was cool. You know what I mean? Then the next break came up. I did it again. By that 3rd break, I'm like, bro, this ain't no way for me to live. Like, my grades are good. What else can I do? Like, if I get a job, I'm going to be putting all my money into an apartment to live. Like it's different. Like now, I can just Airbnb somewhere for that. You know what I'm saying? But back then, it's either you sign a lease or whatever. So or a rooming house or something. But like I said, it was just country around there. So it wasn't really those resources like it is now. Yeah. So anyway, I'm like, man, I ain't trying to do this no more. I just joined the Army. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I got to the military. Yeah.
Okay. And then from there, you do your deployments. Right?
Yeah, so I did 8 years Army, 2 deployments, so 1 in Iraq and 1 in Afghanistan. So I joined the Army in 2005, and then my first deployment was 2007. And then this was during the time of the insurgency, it just was a tumultuous time in the Middle East. This was when the surge was going on, when they were, I don't know if you remember or you was into politics at that time, but just think, But during that time, it was a surge going on saying they want all American troops out or they gonna ramp up attacks or whatever the case is. So my job was a combat engineer. So, which means we cleared the way for log packs to come through. Log packs is logistical everything. You know, they bringing toiletries, they bringing mail, they bringing food, they bringing supplies. But of course, you can't just ride through the city because of the IED attacks. So our job was to go out first and clear the roads and stuff like that, making sure it was no threat, you know. So most of the time I was a gunner, some of the times I was a driver. We're rotated, you know what I'm saying? So that first deployment, we lost 4 people. And of course, I got injured myself in a couple of different IED attacks. So that was 2007, 2008, close to 2009. So then fast forward, you know, I finished up my career, but I did 1 more deployment to Afghanistan, but that was a short-lived deployment, thankfully, and we ain't lose nobody. So.
Yeah. Bro, we gotta talk about that first deployment a little bit more, bro. Because you said you was a combat engineer, so you had to you said you cleared the way for other
So I mean, I don't know how many listeners you got on here from the military, but
we got a few.
So combat engineering is one of those things that's probably next to infantry, because infantry, of course, you fighting on the ground, but combat engineering, you fighting with explosives and or it's difficult to explain without having visual.
No, I have a visual.
So back in those times or now times, you know, the war is not fighting like the Civil War where you got rifles, you shooting the enemy. Like now it was more urban terrain and they was planting IEDs or planting bombs, small arms attacks and stuff like that. So it's mostly the minimum time we were outside the wire was probably 12 to 13 hours.
What is outside the wire? I mean, like outside the...
in the country. In the country, clearing the way for those packs to come. So you riding through the city, you know, you probably taking sniper fire or you find the IED or they find you, you know, so a lot of different explosions.
Yeah. Man. So what led to you going from that experience to like saying, okay, I want to be a therapist? Because that's where I'm trying to tie everything together.
Well, so the first experience was the foster home, group home, not feeling connected to that therapist that they made you get. The second experience was, all right, I'm back, you know, out the military, but I'm still having these thoughts. I'm still having these visions. I'm still not feeling like myself because of the experiences I had in the military, in addition to how my lifestyle was already traumatic. So you go to the VA, 1 is long lines, then 2, it's again, somebody that's sitting over there that don't look like me, you know? So a lot of the reasons why a lot of veterans tend to not go to the VA for support and or therapy in itself is because there's no connectivity, no cohesiveness. You got a therapist that's talking to you about things that they may have learned in a book or things that they probably think opposed to actually being in it. So for me, I got the best of both worlds because I actually experienced it. And a lot of veterans will probably go to groups before they go to individual therapy just for that universality. Universality is that connection of, it's not just me. Like, we got shared experience. You know, you're in a room with 10 to 15 people and all of them can relate to certain smells or certain thoughts or tell you about what they did for dreams or tell you about, hey, I had to reconnect with my family. This is what I did. Or, hey, when I was over there, this happened and how'd you deal with it? So that's what universality do, opposed to going to that individual therapist who, you know, can tell you what they think or suggest some things to you, but it's not really relatable. So that was the second instance. I was like, you know what? this is another reason why I got to be a therapist, man.
Yeah.
You know, so anyway, after my Army, so while I was in the Army, I still was doing school stuff, like some online stuff or whatever. So anyway, my second deployment, I come back, St. Paul's, the college is closed. It's done.
You're like, man, what the heck?
Yeah, like, yo, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so cause they probably sent letters and stuff, but you know, I obviously ain't had no address.
Right.
I ain't had no P.O. box, whatever the case is. So I'm just short. So now I'm figuring out like, yo, how am I gonna get my transcripts? Like, what I'm gonna do? Like, so anyway, I wind up getting contact with the registrar's office or whatever the case is. Go through that process to get my transcripts, was able to transfer to another school. So I wound up transferring to South University. They got different satellite campuses throughout the country. I went to the one here in Richmond. My bachelor's is in clinical psychology. So I switched from criminal justice.
Okay.
So then after I finished my bachelor's, I was like, yo, you know what? I got to keep going because I want to be licensed. So I got a master's in clinical mental health counseling. And then from there is when I got licensed by the Board of Virginia. So I'm licensed in Virginia.
I want to pause real quick and talk to the brothers that may be going through it right now, because I know there are some of you that are going through it right now that are listening to this episode. And I want to make sure that you guys feel seen, heard, understood, and supported. So if you're going through depression, if you're going through suicide ideations, if you're going through anxiety, a difficult breakup, divorce, baby mama drama, whatever it is that you're thinking about on a day-to-day basis that's making you feel like less of a man, I want you to know that it is okay to be going through those things. But what's not okay is for you to stay in the same position that you're in right now, knowing that there's things that you could be doing to better yourself. And so one of those things that we've created personally for Black men on this platform is called Safe Haven. So Safe Haven is a holistic healing platform that we've created specifically for Black men just like you. Whatever it is that you're going through, you're not alone, because we have hundreds of men inside of Safe Haven that are going through the same exact thing as you. We have resources that are available to help you heal. One of the most important resources is connecting you with a mental health professional that can help you and will help you through whatever it is that you're going through. And we do that within the first 10 to 15 minutes of you getting onto the platform. We're the only platform that does this specifically for Black men. We're the only platform that specifically vets our professionals before they're even allowed on our platform, so they know how to help Black men to heal. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in, if you're ready to make a change in your life, then join Safe Haven. All you got to do is go to expressyourselfblackman.com/links, and there will be a link for you to join Safe Haven. If you are a woman and you know a Black man and you're trying to get them to join Safe Haven, you can go to expressyourselfblackman.com/links and join on their behalf, or gift them a Safe Haven membership. If you have any questions, if anything's not clear, send an email to staff@expressyourselfblackman.com. And with that being said, let's get back to the rest of the episode. Love y'all. Yeah, I think you're the first veteran that's also a therapist that I've ever had on.
Okay, yeah.
I feel obligated to ask you this.
Actually,
Two questions, bro. For a veteran right now that's listening to this that knows that they have some stuff that they want to work on, what's 3 things that they could do that you think will actually be impactful?
So if you're a veteran, I definitely think you have to remember that number 22. Are you familiar with number 22?
Nah, what's that?
So 22 veterans a day die by suicide, you know, so we definitely want to reduce that number. So remember that for one. And then for 2, I think you definitely got to tap into your resources, whether that is using the resources on your nearest base and or the VA hospital, and or finding a therapist and vet the therapist. You know, ask them questions. Are they familiar with the military lifestyle process or deployments and stuff like that? And then 3 or 4, whatever number we on. Yeah, take ownership of where you are and be aware, because it's not just you, it's your family too. The people vicariously around you, you definitely got to make sure that you're helping. So by helping yourself, you helping your family, then of course, ultimately you helping the community.
And so my follow-up question, I'm so glad you had it with family. It's almost like you knew exactly where I was going. So for people that are family, like loved ones of a veteran, how can they potentially like help out? Like what is, I know it's not, you know, a one size fits all.
Yeah, it's not. So, and to be real with you, it's something that I always had difficulty with, you know, just being Because sometimes it's not easy to articulate the fact of, right now I'm just in my thoughts,
Okay.
and a lot of veterans get that because it's the lack of universality. It's a rare amount of people that you can call and be like, I'm having one of them days, I'm
Right.
thinking about how we was on deployment or whatever the case is, and it's not a bad thing, but that ain't something that you want your wife to carry, even though she can carry it. Your wife might be the strongest person in the world, but for you to say, babe, this happened, or I just had a dream about this explosion, because trauma is real, PTSD is real.
Yeah.
And reliving those events happen more often than not for a lot of different veterans.
Yeah.
And it might just feel like they pushing you aside or you feel displaced or whatever the case is. But a lot of them that don't get help, they wind up self-medicating or learning ways to cope within themselves. And it wind up being those detrimental ways, and it wind up having issues with your family. So, the divorce rate is so high, tend to lose their job and or just be a menace to society and just have reckless behavior follow them because they don't know how to process or don't feel like they have an outlet. So I would encourage those family members to, one, exercise patience and understand that it is going to be different because your loved one is different. They had an experience that was probably one of the most chaotic and fulfilling things to them. I know that's oxymoronic, but like when you in it, you gun ho because like this is survival. I got to do what I got to do to survive.
Yeah.
So you're not really thinking about things that are back home. You're thinking about them. You hoping that everything is well, but you're focused on the now because if I slip up or if I'm too emotional, it can be life or death depending on what your job is,
Right, yeah.
So those distractions of home can potentially be catastrophic while you in theater or combat zone, however you want to phrase it.
Yeah.
So the patience is one thing I think family can do. I also think they can do research on ways to support that person or educate yourself. Most bases throughout the country have like advocacy groups for family members, whether those spouses groups or groups of family or groups for reintegrating, that soldier back into your life because it is an adjustment. For a long time, like I didn't want to go out like in public. I didn't want to be around crowds because over there crowds are different.
Right.
Like just imagine, you like here, I think, it's like, how some people are from like the South or something, they go to New York, like, yo, everybody bumping me, they stepping on my shoes. So it's a little bit different. So just imagine that happening, but somebody's trying to kill you or it's a sniper somewhere or it's an explosion going off, so those things can be traumatic. So for a long time, I personally didn't want to go to crowds, whether that's to watch fireworks on the holiday or taking my daughters to King's Dominion or to whatever the case is. I'm like, I'm good. I'll play the back. Or either if I am somewhere, even now, I still sit in position to where I can see the exits. I can see what's going on. So I can protect myself, protect my family, and, potential whoever's else in the situation. So a lot of veterans still do that. So that's another way that you can, assist in alleviating them by allowing them to be free and be open and adjust, So I definitely would say do your research though is a big one.
You talked about family and like how family can be patient with understanding like what a veteran is going through. I want to kind of open this up a little bit more to even outside of veterans, just Black men in general, right? Like, what are some signs that you think sometimes get missed that are signals that a Black man might be dealing with something or suffering?
So I think Hollywood does a poor depiction of what different diagnoses are.
Okay.
What I mean by that, let's just pick one. Let's just take depression.
Okay.
Which is a common diagnosis, right? But from the Hollywood standpoint, every time or the majority of the time you see something like depression being played out in the media, it's what you see. You see
somebody sad.
This thin white girl sitting on the couch crying her eyes out eating a tub of ice cream.
Right.
So if you this big guy that deployed and or play football or, is just a, macho man mentally, you like, I can't relate to that. I ain't sitting around here crying. But it's other symptoms of depression that people tend not to, specifically men tend not to focus on. And some of those things is isolation, lack of interest and pleasure, being lonely, not engaging in stuff that you used to, difficulty sleeping, poor appetite, and the biggest one as far as depression is, of course, the anger piece, which is oftentimes that secondary emotion.
Explain that. Yeah.
Yeah, anger is one of those things that happen for men in depression, because oftentimes they don't know how to articulate like what that true emotion is. So it comes out as anger or displacement. In my book, is a chapter dedicated to displacement, meaning I want to articulate how I feel right now, but it comes out as anger. So just imagine you, that black man or whoever, since we're talking about black men or we're talking about veterans or whatever. So that veteran or that black man is at work right now and his coworker, Tom, is getting on his nerves, or Tom fouled something wrong, or Tom made a mistake and blamed it on him. Now the boss is involved or whatever the case is. So now you got to sit with your boss. Your boss is coming down on you. You got reprimanded. You can't fire off on Tom because you lose your job. You can't fire off on your boss because you lose your job. You might get arrested or whatever the case is. So that displacement anger, you go home and kids in the living room playing just regular day. They just doing kid stuff. But for you, now you angry and it's displaced to those kids. Like, why y'all making all that noise? Why the TV's up loud? Or why these Legos all in the floor? The anger ain't for them. The wife probably in there cooking you dinner and you like, yo, you got to bang the pots and pans that loud, or why you got to wash dishes now? Like, yo, that anger is not for them. That anger was for your coworker, Tom, and your boss that you couldn't give that anger to. So I think not knowing how to articulate that when you come home, hey, kids, I need y'all to, daddy need a little bit of space so you can play with y'all later, or your wife, hey babe, I had a rough day. I don't feel like talking right now, but let me kick off my shoes and relax real quick, and then we can chop it up. But right now, but it's difficult to say that sometimes, so it comes off as boisterous and anger and whatever else the case is.
I need you to talk about emotional suppression versus like regulation. What is the difference between the two? Because I feel like sometimes for us as men, we get caught up in like suppressing, and we think that's the same thing as like processing.
Yeah, so suppression is one of those things that tend to, so when you regulate, it's in your control. All right, cool. I can give you this tidbit now because I'm in control of that. But when you suppressing, it's like devoid of. It's one of those things that you aren't even, you probably don't feel like you're capable of giving within those moments or those spaces. So that can be difficult, not only for you, because think about it, you probably been doing it forever, so you numb and desensitized to it, so you don't even know it's happening right now. You just, whoever's on the other end of that, typically your partner or your children or your coworkers or your teammate, they like, bro, you checked out. Like, what's going on? But to you, you like, yo, what is going on? Like, what else do you want from me? What do you want me to do? Bro, I'm guilty of that. Like, it's not intentional, but sometimes I don't know if I'm connecting. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if I am emotional enough in certain situations. So
explain
for me,
what you mean by that. Yeah,
is self-awareness, and of course, you have people who would check you and let you know. But it just depended on the situation and and the people involved, I guess. Like if somebody wants you to not necessarily be over emotional, but react a certain way or a way that they want you to react, I'm cool with you telling me about that. But for me, it's more of when and how to do it.
Tap into it.
Yeah.
Okay. I like where you're going right now, because I'm thinking about a lot of men that are like not necessarily nonchalant, but maybe are not as tapped into their emotions in every different like scenario. How have you navigated that? Because you mentioned it, like, and I mean, I know you're still navigating it, but has there been anything specifically that's worked well for you with like navigating not being as emotionally available in certain circumstances?
Yeah. So, I mean, what you said as far as the regulation and the suppression, it's a difference. So not suppressing it, but being open to let me, give a little bit if that's what they want or that's what they require. Let me try to work on it. Let me do that self-reflection and see. And I think for a lot of people, it's more one of those things of, it's easier to look out a window than it is to look in the mirror. You know what I'm saying? You look out the window, you can, oh man, like Kizzle got, ketchup stain on his shirt. What did he eat today? But then as soon as you get home at night, you look in the mirror like, I got the same ketchup. Like what? I done dropped, sauce on my shirt too. I'm tripping. I ain't even catch this earlier, but I seen Kizzle joint. So it's one of those type things. So I think you just have to be in a position to want to know those changes. And then for me personally, man, my wife, bro, she one of them people who is in tune with her emotions. And then where I'm sitting, it's one of those things like, hey, your level of emotional need is like astronomical. It's one of those things of like, yo, are you sure? Like, I have to balance, like, is it enough or is it like over the top? Like, why do you feel that you need that? So just us being able to connect and discuss a lot of stuff, we just tap into it. Like, is this normal what you need or is it excessive because you didn't get it at a different time in your life, prior to me, or am I not that emotional into what the addition of what you need?
Right.
So we just go back there. We have a lot of discussions about it. We work with each other on it.
How did y'all create that space to be able to do that? Because I feel like a lot of men are very uneasy about having those conversations.
Yeah.
So how did y'all, was it always that way or was it like something that y'all
listen,
going?
I'm uneasy for having them conversations too. I talk to my wife, I'm about to tear up, bro. Cause Shorty's so good, in her own right, and it's one of those things to answer your question. Like, you don't know what you don't know. Like, again, you think my way has been working for me, I'm good. Yeah. But it's not until you get with somebody else and you want it to work and you committed to making it work, you step back and say, all right, let me see what it is that you're really trying to tell me. Like, am I doing these things or am I not doing these things? Or can I do more of what it is that you require? Yeah. Not necessarily like, like I'm not doing these things, but you might need a little bit more. So let me try to do a little bit more. But also on the other end of that, hey, babe, you asking for this, but does that even make sense? So one, having a partner that you can connect with and have these discussions with, and not feel like it's an attack or not feel like, I'm the victim because, it's about me. It's not. It's a partnership. So just being able to find somebody you're in tune with or finding somebody that you're willing to grow with based on how they react and what information they're bringing you.
Anytime I get someone that's married, how long have I been married, first of all?
A little over 3 years.
Over 3 years, okay. Anytime I get someone that's married, I want to know more about marriage.
Yeah,
I just got engaged to my girl.
Congrats, bro.
Yeah, I appreciate you, man. I just got engaged to my girl, so we're in a position right now where we're about to start planning and everything. And so I'm just trying to get as much wisdom as possible. But I also know there's folks that are listening to this that are trying to get to a point where they even get to being engaged, right? Yeah. So, because you're someone that, like, you say you still kind of struggle with, like, the emotional availability in certain aspects, right? So how did you realize this was someone that you could open up to in the first place? Like, what were there signs that made you say, like, okay, that makes sense, and like I can open up a little bit more here?
I think it's based on perspective.
Okay.
Because if you ask me, I'm emotional as heck. I do open up. But of course, if you ask her, it's, if you could open up a little bit more or let me in, so I guess it depends on your perspective. But I would say, like, if you chose to be married or you chose to be committed to this person, you got to understand the process and be willing to be in the process. So whatever dynamic y'all form and create, I think that should be it. Because my dynamic might be different than yours. Like, and it's going to be different than yours for sure. Absolutely. And all of those things that you've endured throughout your life and all of those things that your partner or partners endured throughout their lives, like, it's going to clash. And y'all just, like, you're going to be here. You can be here and be cantankerous and argue, or you can, come together and make this situation work. So I think that's the most important thing. And that's part of the reason why, too, I created a board game to have those difficult discussions even before marriage and while you're married, because it's so many different, like now we are at a place to where we can talk about anything, good, bad, and ugly. And that doesn't mean we don't take things personal or we don't, just agree with each other. That just means we can have this discussion to know how each other feels and try to articulate as best as possible of why we don't agree, or, sometimes you got to be like, all right, look, let's save this, come back to it so we ain't messing up the day or whatever. Yeah. Or just continue to have those discussions to understand, like, all right, I got somebody I can communicate with, somebody that's open, somebody that's expressive. The last thing you want to do is be in a position or in a relationship where you feel like you can't go to this person, or you feel like this person can't come to you, or whatever. Like, is that a real relationship? Is that a partnership? Is that a bond that you probably don't want to do? Now you in a situation and you got all these other things festering. You probably gonna resent yourself, and definitely probably resent your partner for even being in that situation.
You know what this made me think of? It made me realize when you talked about dynamics and relationships and everybody's dynamic being different, I was just talking to Naima, that's my fiance. I was just talking to her well, actually, it might have been, no, it was yesterday night. We're talking yesterday night about like, and it's gonna be very controversial, but I'm gonna explain. One of the best things that we did was stop couples therapy. And the reason why I'm saying that is because we were in couples therapy, and while our couples therapist was great, it was leading to a lot of division in our relationship. Not because of our couples therapist, but because sometimes we would be having conversations about certain dynamics in our relationship that we were cool with, but our couples therapist was like, yeah, this probably isn't the greatest dynamic. And it's like, nah, but it's not bothering either of us. We're both cool with the way that this dynamic is, but now we're working on something that we don't necessarily need to be working on, and wasn't an issue. And now it's creating more issues because it's disrupting the flow of how our relationship is. And so when we stopped, we were able to actually self-regulate and actually figure out things on our own and create a healthy dynamic that actually led to us being engaged and being comfortable.
See, you remember when we first, like in the beginning of this discussion, I said some therapists teach from the book.
Yeah.
I don't know your therapist.
No, go ahead.
You know what I mean? And no offense to them if they watching, but it probably was one of them people who felt like they got to do this because think if it's no issue there, why are we addressing that? Now we creating something. Yeah. Like, it's okay to go back sometimes, but sometimes you can start at the here and now, meet people where they are, or whatever the case is. Yeah. Like, you don't want to create issues. I don't know what they did, but hopefully they just bring it to your attention. Like, hey, have you addressed this, or what happens then? That's cool. But if it sounds like, if it's one of those situations where they're creating issues where there aren't issues, then that might be a situation. And fortunately enough for y'all, y'all paused it, y'all doing self-reflection, and then y'all creating a healthy balance. Yeah. So I just hope that it's one of those situations to where they wasn't trying to assist y'all and y'all ignored it for the sake of that gratification now. Yeah. Because it could have been a situation where they was like, hey, listen, we bringing this up because y'all gonna need it later. And y'all ignored it, but it doesn't sound like that. So hopefully that therapist is not one of those ones to say, we talked about finances, we talked about intimacy, we talked about whatever this is, and you like, yo, we good here. Like, why we, you know what I'm saying? So hopefully it wasn't that.
Yeah, and I want to add even more context, right? So that people could be aware. So around that time, we were struggling with the idea of moving in together, right? I wanted to move in, she didn't want to move in. And she wasn't, not that she didn't want to move in, she wasn't ready for us to move in together. And so we were having a lot of conversation. Like, imagine every session you go in, you know exactly what we're going to be talking about. I know where I stand, you know where you stand, but we still continuously having the same conversation. At some point in time, it's going to be like, yo, bro, we talking about this a lot, right? And so it became like this big, huge thing. Whereas I felt like if we hadn't, not to say that we were ignoring it, but just if we hadn't talked about it so much in every single session, it would allow us to actually, like, again, self-regulate, and me to be able to regulate myself. Why do I even want to move in right now? Like, have those conversations with my therapist, have some more conversations about those, instead of like every single week we having the same conversation. I meet with the couples therapist, we talk about this thing this week. The next week we talk about the same thing. I haven't been given enough time to actually process, like, is my thought process right? Am I really thinking about this the right way? She hasn't been given enough time to really process, like, why am I so hesitant to move in there? So, like, it just was, I feel like it was one that partially it was a cadence, but then two, it was also us being both in our space of, like, this is where I feel like I want to be, and not having enough time with our own individual therapists, like doing our own individual work to be able to kind of come together and make it work. And so, like, we just kept repeating the same, like, conversation. And that eventually led to, I remember there was one conversation we had where she was like, okay, so, you know, Naima doesn't want to move in. How do you feel about that? I'm like, yo, I'm not trying to do this relationship no more. And I said that in session, right? So now we created this whole bigger thing, a way bigger thing. Granted, that's on me. That's not on her. Again, that's why I said, like, my couples therapist was great. But one of the best things that we did was stop it so that we could actually do the work on ourselves instead of having a conversation over and over and over again. I feel like sometimes, like, what it really reminds me of is Like when you're in the middle of like a heavy emotion and you know this is not the right time to have a conversation about the thing that you're emotional about. But for some reason you still want to have the conversation. That's kind of what we both were. We both were experiencing a heavy emotion, a heavy feeling about like this moving in thing. She was like really against it, or not even really against it, more so hesitant to it because she was hesitant to the commitment of it. I was like, yo, gung-ho about doing it because I'm one of those people that I like being closer to my partner. I like dealing with being in intimacy. I'm someone that had, an anxious attachment style, right? So that intimacy is something that I crave deeply. So both of those things were operating at the same time. My anxious and more so like her avoiding a little bit were operating at the same time. And so we just didn't have enough time to deal with those things before we had the conversation about moving in. And so having a conversation without dealing with the back end stuff on our own is what kind of created that dynamic. And
So it's good that you're aware of that, because I'm sure your individual sessions you were processing, why are you so hyped to move in? Like, why not take it slow and figure it out? And I'm sure in her sessions it was more so, well, why are you hesitant? Is this somebody you want to be with? Y'all gonna make it work? Yeah. So I get it. To go back and then a week and then so for those sessions like that, it's typically when I say, hey, listen, I think this would be a better situation for a homework assignment. We tapped on it for the past 2 weeks. I'll let y'all figure this part out. And then next week or the following week, we can come back to it. Mm-hmm. So it just depends on that therapist dynamic. But it all goes back to what I said earlier, that cohesiveness between your clients, because you want them to feel safe. You also want them to feel like, yo, we getting actual solutions here, opposed to this driving a wedge between us for no reason.
Yo, bro, sometimes we go in the session and we know we leave this session, we're going to be upset.
And that's unfortunate because, luckily for y'all still got individual therapies. But for the most part, just think about how many other people felt like that. But now they're like, yo, therapy they trashed it. It's a label now. Like, hey, don't go to therapy. We broke up because of it. Or don't go to therapy because we argue more just having, it casts this shadow over the entire field, opposed to this therapist that we had or this topic that we were reviewing in therapy. It didn't assist us as much as we thought we needed or could have.
All right, I'm interrupting this podcast episode to let you guys know to leave a review on the podcast. Please, 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 if you are listening to this episode and you're finding value in this episode, you're enjoying the conversation, or you've enjoyed a previous episode or conversation, and it's safe to operate your phone right now, please leave us a review. Your review is a free and easy way to support us, and it helps us reach more people like you. We're on a mission to build a stronger, more connected Black community, starting with Black men. And you can help us on that mission by taking a minute out of your day to leave a review. Your review helps us generate more listeners, which in turn generates more revenue, allowing us to expand the platform even further. So please take a few seconds out of your day. I know you're busy. I understand. I know you're doing a lot, but it will help us greatly if you would just take a few seconds out of your day to leave a review right now. Did you leave a review yet? All right, let's get back to the episode. Nah. And so I want to ask you, right, because I want to round this out into a more positive light for folks that are in a relationship right now that are struggling with certain things. What would you suggest? Let's say they're not in individual therapy right now, but they're in a relationship and they're like, yo, this relationship it's not really working out right now. But I really want to work on it. And maybe their partner is also open to therapy or has suggested the idea of doing couples therapy. I know, again, there's no one size fits all, but what would you suggest in those moments for folks that are trying to heal or their relationship, not necessarily in their own individual therapy, and maybe they're arguing a lot. So
healing is not one of those things with a set destination, so you can't say I'm going to do X, Y, Z and I'm going to be healed.
Okay.
That's continuous work,
right.
Mm-hmm. So also you got to think too, is this the person that I want to be with? Am I going to be with this person? Because probably 70% of relationships start based on attraction.
Okay.
Not necessarily compatibility. So you with this person based on attraction, not really compatibility. So are y'all really supposed to be together? Can y'all foster when things get tough? Is this your person? Is this where you want to be ultimately? End goal, family, the house, lifestyle, all those things has to be answered throughout that. So sometimes it's difficult because you realize, like, even during the pandemic, a lot of people were together for years, but now I'm being in your space all day, every day. I realize, like, you ain't who I thought you were.
Yeah,
so those things can be difficult. So to understand that and to know that, I think is when you're supposed to take a step back from you, not necessarily the relationship, but to see, like, what's going on here? Like, is this something that I need to uncover myself? And your partner got to do the same thing, because ultimately, realistically, as a human, you continue to grow and excel. Your partner is growing and excelling too, but in their own right. So if it's like this at your height, y'all think y'all are, and then somebody's like this, am I gonna reach back and get you, or is your partner, well, let me speed up and see? And that can be anything. That can be finances, that can be career-wise, that can be moving or transitioning to another location, like all those things. Like, are we still here together, or is it one, you know what I'm saying? Is it that unbalance? So when that unbalance happen, let me reach back and get you, or you know what? Let me do my part. I'm gonna run a little faster so I can reach you. And that be the difficult part, because now somebody's like, I'm always the one reaching back. I ain't reaching back this time. Or somebody like, yo, I always got to catch you. Like, why can't you just slow down? So those things can be difficult when you're in a relationship and nobody's trying to do the work. But if you pause right here and say, you know what? Let me see why I feel the need to want to go this fast, or why am I going this slow, or why are we not at the same pace no more? Get back to what got y'all in that position of we together, we want to be together. Because sometimes that's difficult.
Man, nah, that's true, bro. I remember there was moments I realized that in my relationship. I was like, yo, man, like I feel like I'm healing, and granted, I'm not healed. There's no destination, but I felt the disconnect where I'm like, yo, bro, like I need to give her some time. Like I real life need to give her some time to work through her stuff and not like force her or make her feel bad about where she's at. Because it's so easy for us to say like, man, why you can't just work on that and like get over that? But for the person that's dealing with it, that's probably the biggest thing they got going on when it comes to their healing. So you can't just say, yo, figure that thing out and we'll be good, because at the end of the day, that's probably a huge thing that it took them years, if not more than that, decades to get to that point. So it really takes some time. You gotta be honest about that.
And not only that, like people got different resiliency levels.
True,
my resilience and your resilience are totally different. And in relationships, sometimes it's more so, hey, look at me, treat me like I'm treating you and we'll be fine. That's not necessarily the case, because it's treating you how you want to be treated, not necessarily how I want to treat you, And I think sometimes that's the difficult part of being about it, because you like, yo, I'm doing XYZ. I'm like, yo, I don't need none of that. This is what I need. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's the difficult part, because you can think that, yo, in my relationship, I'm giving effort of 10. Whatever 10 is the highest, but to your partner, it's like, that's like a 6. Everything, you doing a lot of stuff, but that's not the stuff that I want or need, and vice versa. So you got to make sure the 10 that you're giving is the 10 that they want, not necessarily the 10 that you want to give.
Yeah, nah, that's a fact, bro. I think about that like as like a currency. Like we all got our own, just like when you go to different countries, there's a different currency. You can't use, you could, but you really can't use the dollar everywhere, right? But the way I see it, right, like when you have a partner, they have their own currency, like love language, right? And so you can't do the things that you do for yourself that you would like for yourself to receive love with them, because it may not work. Like my girl, she likes quality time. She likes quality time. She likes affirmations. I kind of like quality time. Affirmations, You know what I'm saying? Like I don't really know. I'm not really into that. She's more, and she also likes gifts. She also likes gifts too now. So I can't really always do quality time. Sometimes she wants a gift. Sometimes she wants like something else. So I have to, again, meet her where she's at. And I got to be comfortable with that and not be upset that, okay, damn, why you ain't like the fact that we spent some time watching Netflix together? That was me trying to do this thing for you. I like quality time and acts of service, right? So like when she plates my food, I love that. Like if I'm playing her food all day, she gonna be like, all right, where the gift at?
Yeah.
Right? You know what I'm saying? So like, you gotta be understanding of like where everybody is with what they got going on. I want to ask you, how do we find a good therapist? because you're a therapist yourself. So how do we find a good therapist? Not a therapist that's going to give us the cookie cutter, like textbook stuff. Because I know this is a question that a lot of Black men have.
Yeah, I mean, with everything is suggestive. So good is like one of those things that would be a preference to somebody.
Right.
But I would say in search for your therapist, you can do a couple different things. One, don't feel like you only have to go to the ones that the insurance company say you have to go through. You can do your own research. Secondly, I think it's one of those things to where you should interview that said therapist, meaning ask them questions. Hey, have you ever worked with Black people before? Have you ever worked with men before? How do you feel about, name some issues that are dear to you, whether that's, hey, like if you LGBTQ, you want to know if this therapist is competent or work with people of that community. Or if you from the projects, you want to know how they feel or what are our thoughts or what are our practices within assisting people from whatever said subculture they're from. That's the main thing. And I think it's one of those things where people don't know how to advocate for themselves or ask for what they want in a therapist because they think it's one of those things that you got to go to. Like, think about it. You probably got the same doctor that you had since you was, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. A earlier, younger man, like in your 20s up until now, or whatever, not knowing like, you know what, let me do some research on another doctor. You go to the other doctor, they doing more tests, they doing more scans, they educating you on stuff. Same thing for therapy. It's like, this is what I got to go to, so let me just go to one. No, you better go to one that you feel that you can have that cohesive experience with. When you do have those cohesive experiences, a lot of things can happen. One, you feel open enough to share things, and then you feel connected as in this is a place for me to offload that information opposed to, it's like a chore to me. Like I'm going because Charlotte want me to go. I'm going because my job say I got to go. No, you want to be able to say, you know what, I'm dealing with a lot. Let me give this to somebody else, or let me get a better visual of how I can look at these scenarios or situations, or, what happens when I feel this sensation? What does this mean? Or, hey, am I really impacted about stuff that happened when I was a kid? Or, so that's all it is managing opposed to suppressing and understanding what it is that I can do, not only for myself, but for the people vicariously around me that I'm not intentionally hurting, but I'm hurting.
I always like asking therapists this question because I feel like it just gives us a lot of insight into some of the things that Black men go through. So I want to ask you, what are some of like the common days that you have or that you see with Black men when they come in and have sessions with you?
I do a lot of re-educating on certain diagnostic criteria because they can be dealing with something, but again, like it's not depicted or understood based on they numb to it because they haven't seen it before or it hasn't been addressed before. We gave the example earlier about the depression.
Yeah.
But
another one, yeah.
Yeah, like complex trauma, just existing and being a Black man, you dealing with complex trauma. But if you don't understand that, you just think it's one of those things of, so like even the world or a lot of people probably think like being a Black man is a monolith experience. Like you Black, he Black, y'all dealing with the same thing, so we can give you the same prescription. Not necessarily the case. You know what I mean? We all have our different walks of life, but a lot of it can overlap just depending, so we can talk about that. But from the standpoint to answer your question though, like if we talk about trauma, it's one of those things of like you probably never had a criminal record, you probably never been arrested, but if the police get behind you, like, yo, what, you straightening up, you making sure everything good, that is complex trauma, that hypervigilance, that avoidance of like, yo, why am I so tense? Like, I ain't do nothing, so if they pull me over, but you're hiding based on how other Black men were treated and you witnessed that or you occurred that, and that's traumatic. So the traumatic standpoint, it doesn't have to do with anything that you went through individually or specifically. It can be something that you witnessed. The complexity of it, the complex part is the repeated part of it, that current situations, day after day, week after week, year after year. And back to suppression, trauma can be one of those things that you suppress for years, not touch it. This happened, I ain't gonna think about it no more, I'm moving on with my life. Then all of a sudden, when you least expect it, you hear something or you smell something, like your senses get activated and you realize like, yo, I never dealt with that. Now it's coming up in my relationship, or now it's coming up at work, or now it's coming up that I got kids, so that's why the suppression part is not good. Managing or processing is where you want to be.
How do we get to that point for someone that's dealing with something that's like, they've suppressed it for years. Like how, but he's ready. Like, let's say there's a black man right now that's thinking about something that he's dealt with, maybe in childhood or something like that. He suppressed it for a very long time, but he wants to process it and deal with it. He just doesn't know where to start. How would you suggest he start?
I would suggest he start with the knowing of him.
Okay.
Like, what I mean by that is, like right now, if I say, who is Kobe Bryant?
Yeah.
You probably will have a list for days. Like right. Kobe was this player,
Mamba mentality,
drafted in 96, rookie of the year, won a dunk contest, got titles, played for the Lakers. You can list all that. But then I say, who is Kizzle, or who is, whoever this person is. Watch how long it takes for them to identify who they are. And it's not intentional. They like, oh man, like, they probably throw out the basic ones. I'm a father, I'm a husband, but the other adjectives that describe who they are genuinely, they might not know, or it might not be as easy for them to identify that. So the first thing is, of course, you want to identify who you are, because you don't know who you are, you're going to be whoever I tell you, or whoever the world say you are. And more than likely, that worldview of who you are is not going to be that precious young black man. It's going to be, oh, he a threat.
Yeah.
He got tattoos, or he got a grill, or he speak with slang, urban ebonics. He a threat. Opposed to, it's just an educated black man who's probably went through some things or probably experienced some things that don't know how to articulate really what he is. So I would say that's where you can start. Identifying who you are, and then find somebody to assist you with uncovering those things that may have transpired with you at an early age and or now, and then go from there. And how you process those things, or how you learn to manage those things, would definitely be beneficial, not only for you, your personal growth, but again, those people vicariously around you. Because once you become self-aware of something and you refuse to fix it or change it, work with it, like you said, if it's no longer suppressed and it's an issue, like that's on you at that point. But if it's one of those situations where you are now in a relationship and they're saying, hey, why is this happening, or what's going on here, and you like, oh man, it's I don't talk about it because it happened way back then. It might be some there. It might be some that you should uncover. And again, whether you uncover it as an individual, or you go to somebody and get them to assist you with that and processing it.
Yeah, and you talked about complex trauma earlier, and you didn't define it. So for those of us that are in the audience, listeners, whatever, that don't know what it is, what is that actually?
Yeah, complex trauma is one of those things, repeated exposure to whatever that traumatic situation is. So for a black man, it's pretty much literally existing, because we got, it's some stuff going on at work. It's some systemic issues that are above us. It's some political issues that are above us. So that systemic issues, or those concurrent issues that day to day, like the example I gave of the police, like, or those microaggressions that be happening, that's complex trauma. Those repeated issues throughout. Of course, the regular trauma is those things that affect your ability to have resistance within that. So you can have a traumatic experience and you might not be able to recover from it at that said time. But trauma also is one of those things, again, like I mentioned earlier, it's not something that you have to do directly. It could have been something that you witnessed. Right. And a lot of people do suppress trauma because they don't know that it was a traumatic experience. Right. So before you even get to PTSD, you get acute stress disorder. Acute stress disorder is one of those things that happen within a month of that traumatic situation. So whether it's a car accident or a violent attack or, whatever. PTSD is anything that happens or that lasts a month to infinity, and that's why you hear more about PTSD and not necessarily acute stress disorder. Complex trauma is what I just said, those things that are concurrently going on now that are complex based on that. So a lot of people refer more to PTSD because that's more universal.
Yeah.
When you think about PTSD, you think about catastrophic events like Hurricane Katrina or a domestic violence victim or, like a car accident.
Do you feel like a lot of Black men are dealing with acute stress disorder?
I think it starts as acute stress disorder, and then it migrates, of course, to PTSD and complex trauma. Because again, it's one of those things that they suppress or not deal with.
Okay.
And it continues to blossom
into something else.
On a day-to-day, or they become numb and desensitized to it, and you get, hey, this is how I am,
So I want to talk about trauma responses, bro. What is a trauma response in the first place?
So it can be a couple of different things. It can be how you respond to a said trauma, which is obviously by the name, or it can be how you not respond to whatever that trauma is. And it can look differently. It can look like people pleasing. It can look like you avoiding people. It can look like, it's just so many different factors to it. And I think a lot of people now, due to pop culture, they put everything in this field or this bubble of this what it is when it's mismanaged or misdiagnosed. So just depending on where you are and how you are dealing with different things can be a trauma response. How you articulate or respond to your partner in certain situations. Just think about how many people use communication as a tool of expressing themselves, whether that's yelling and or I can be ready to rip your head off, but I'm still talking to you like this. You know what I'm saying? I can say, like, my wife and I have been married 3 years. We've been together like over 6 or something. I've never raised my voice at her. That doesn't mean I've never been mad at her. I just can be mad and talk to her like this, opposed to having that reaction of yelling and cussing and pointing and all that. Like, I don't need that response to articulate what I want to say, and vice versa. So I think those things that people look at trauma responses and use those things negatively as a tool to vilify the person on the other end of those things. And again, it can be one of those things too. Yes, it can be one like I said, the people pleasing, like you feel like you got to say yes to things or you don't know how to say no, or they're going to look at me different if I did say XYZ. No, like it's one of those things of doing the work and realize like, why do I got to say no? I don't want to, like if somebody hit you up 2 a.m, hey boss, I need $7 tomorrow. Is there any way possible you bring that to work? Opposed to you saying, bro, you could ask me this tomorrow. Like I got up at 2 a.m. thinking it was a emergency or you needed a ride home because you're inebriated or whatever. You indulge in that, so that response opposed to, bro, it's 2 a.m, man. This could have waited. Everything all right? You good? Boom. Those things can be trauma responses of you engaging in that, like opposed to being firm in your boundary of, bro, it's 2 a.m. I ain't answering my phone. You know what I'm saying? So it's just the reply or the responses to how you feel based on those different things that transpired. Or just think about it. Like if you grew up in a situation of abuse, or you've seen people in discussions yelling and cussing or whatever, and you think like they love me more because they giving me this type of yelling and cussing, and when somebody do talk to you like we talking now, you think like, oh, you don't care. It don't really matter to you. I do care. I'm just not like, I don't need to cuss at you to let you know that I care or I love you anymore because I'm that much, within the situation. Those things could be trauma responses.
I want to pivot a little bit, bro, because we have a new segment on the podcast where it's meant for us to get deeper into the conversation and learn more about some of the things that you've experienced, to also help the guests that may be going through certain things. So the reason I want to give a little history, the reason why we even created this new segment is because we had somebody recently, and from where I'm from in New York, he passed by suicide, right? And so one of my friends that was really close to him or closer to him than I am challenged me to talk more about depression, suicidal ideation, just everything on the podcast. And so I realized like, okay, we don't ask like a series of questions to each guest to get like a really deep understanding of like some of the things that they may experience. So are you comfortable with us asking those questions? That's the first thing.
Definitely, of course. And the numbers within the past 5 years, you probably seen this when you was doing your research for this specific topic, is those young black men between ages 12 and 24 are dying by suicide at a larger rate than anybody within the country.
Right.
So I'm glad you are touching on it. So we can talk about it. What's your question?
For sure. So my first question is, have you ever experienced depression? And if so, when? If it's now, why? If you don't mind. And then like, what was that experience like for you specifically?
Yeah, so I experienced depression before. I don't currently have depression because I'm in a space of peace and understanding, and I'm just like, I'm cool with being the bad guy of saying I'm not doing that. I'm not really interested in that. Like I don't really let nothing take away from my peace. I'd much rather have peace than to have thoughts of that ruminate.
Yeah.
But to your first part of the question, when I had depression, probably in my early years, just trying to navigate that. So let me just respond with what depression is. Depression is one of those things that, major depressive disorder is one of those things that lasts beyond 2 weeks. The lack of interest and pleasure, poor appetite, change your sleep, suicidality, thoughts of suicide, anger, and stuff like that. And of course, you got physical symptoms with depression too that people typically ignore: aches and in your joints, your bones, and stuff like that. Sweaty palms, clammy palms, heart beating fast. It's so many different physical symptoms too. But anyway, in my earlier years, I would say maybe mid-20s. Early 20s, just navigating like, yo, what's next? Like, I don't got no family I can associate with. I don't got no crib. I don't got no car. Like, where am I at? Like, just feeling lost. So yeah, in my early years, yes. And then of course, navigating through the Army and pushing through and then identifying different resources I can do to be more self-sustainable and understand like where I am and how to get up out of this. So if somebody do have depression, first thing they want to do is identify their resources. Then they want to identify those triggers to what's putting them in that state of depression. And sometimes it's that, I can't keep thinking about this, or I can't keep going through this. Let me work on that, or let me change that. Yeah. And then sometimes it's not as direct as one of those things. So you would have to do the work and uncover what it is that's leading you to have depression, so it can be prevented and or treated so it doesn't escalate or lead to suicide.
And you didn't experience suicidal ideation at that time? Or
I did not, no, but I know of some people, specifically a couple of different veterans who had or were close to, as far as attempts. And that's another statistic too. Men attempt suicide. Women attempt suicide more, but men complete suicide more.
Really?
Yeah. So, it's just a lot, man. That suicide piece is one of those things that we definitely have to get a grasp on, But I don't think it's talked about enough because people are too uncomfortable. Yeah. I think you definitely have to be direct. It's a video on my YouTube actually on how to assist somebody, within that. You want to ask the right questions. Are you feeling suicidal? And some of the signs of suicide, I don't know if that's on your note.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. So you'll see people probably giving away that stuff. You'll see people falling back within isolation. Like loneliness and isolation is different. It's people want to be alone sometimes. You want to just chill, whatever. Isolating is being intentional about, I'm not going around people, whatever the case is. So you want to make sure you're paying attention to those signs. Some people even talk about dying like it's a regular thing. Like, and then some people have those thoughts of, hey, life would be so much easier if I wasn't here. So you want to address those things if you ever encounter a friend or somebody who have those thoughts or have those feelings. Ask those questions. It's easier to lose that friendship than for that friend to lose his life.
Man, say it again, bro. Say that last part again.
Yeah, it's easier to lose that friendship than that friend to lose their lives, because you didn't intervene. Like, I'd much rather annoy you, like, Kizza, what's going on? Like, what do you need? I'd rather ask you a million questions and you say, bro, I'm fed up. Than for me to let you fester in it and then next thing we know, like, because now you're going to have that guilt. You're going to have that resentment. Like, I should have hollered at bro. I seen this happen. Like, I ain't, so you don't want to be in that position.
Yeah, nah, you're right. You're definitely right, bro. I'm thinking about some people right now that I probably got to hit up for sure, bro. Thank you for that. The next question I want to ask you, bro, is, have you ever experienced heartbreak? And if so, when, what was it like? Why? And if not, it's okay.
Yeah, bro. So to be honest with you, I don't think I've experienced heartbreak. Like from a romantic standpoint, like I only had a selected amount of relationships. You know what I'm saying? Like I rock with a couple people, but not nothing to nothing to a standard of if this person and I don't talk tomorrow, I'm gonna be devastated. Like that wasn't the case. So I don't recall having a heartbreak from a relationship per se, but I would say that I experienced heartbreak, of course, by navigating, being removed from the home and placed in foster home, removed from foster home, placed in the group home. So that was a sense of heartbreak just because you're not with your family no more. The nucleus part of it, you're not able to be there physically in the proximity of your siblings and your mom and, so heartbreak there. But from a romantic standpoint, I can't say I had.
Okay. And your mom is alive still?
Yeah. She in the early stages of dementia, man. So that's
just about to
navigating that too, man. So
I had a feeling something was going on there because when you said when you first talked about her, you said she was, and then, then you corrected yourself. You said she is. So talk to me about the state. Like, what's this process been like? Because you're kind of like her. Are you her caregiver now? Like, what?
No.
Like,
yeah. So she's in the facility, man. So like I said, luckily for her, they got her medication management right. So she hasn't had the seizure in probably over a year or so, like that. As far as caregiver, the state is more, the Commonwealth of Virginia is more a caregiver. So when you have dementia, it's one of those things that, like, it's a lot. She was with my sister for a period of time, but of course, my sister got to work. My sister got daughters. When you have my mom's situation as far as dementia is the early onset of it. So outside of the lack of memory and the cognitive functions, she also like wanders,
What does that mean?
Like leave.
Oh, she'll leave.
Yeah, in the middle of the night or middle of the day or whatever. So if my sister's at work or if I'm at work or nobody's, now we getting a call or my sister getting a call that, this lady in the middle of the street, what's going on? Like, so my sister had to take off, whatever. But I'm saying that to say why she's in the home now. Because they can better manage it. Like they have the facility and the staff to do that. Like, hey, you can't just walk out, and there's somebody that's 24/7. There's other people there. They got activities that they can do. So that's what she is now. Yeah.
How was that process? Did y'all communicate that with her? Was she like reluctant to it? Like how did that process go?
For a long time, I was distant. Like it was one of those things for me personally, like not being there. So I'll say this: when she first was diagnosed with it, or the early onset of it, like my therapist brain was like, "Bro, mom's got dementia, or she's getting it," but my son brain is like, my mom got dementia. You know what I mean? Like it just was so as a son, I'm like, but I don't want to see my mom like this.
Right.
So I fell back, like, for a long time. But as of recently, I've been more connected and intentional about, so now I go see her every Sunday, we hang out or whatever. But even that is difficult for me because in the process of that, it's still dementia. So we can be talking like we talking and then 2 minutes later, she asked me the same question. Like, as soon as I get there, how the girls, whatever the case is, I'm telling her about my daughters or whatever. And then we talk about something else. And then it's, so how the girls, or you got sons or you got daughters. So it's back to that. So to hear my mom like that or see my mom like that is difficult. So I think that's a segment in itself, bro, to just be in a position to see, your hero or your guardian or your parent in that phase, like that's difficult to navigate, even for me, like, but now, I'm more intentional about it.
What has or hasn't worked for you when it comes to navigating that?
What has worked is it's difficult to say, man, but I feel like wanting to bridge something or identify something that was occurring with me, I felt that I needed to repair or at least increase that relationship with my mom because it's one of those things that I didn't want certain things to come up in my relationship based on the distance or the lack of connectivity that I had with my mom because of that that situation or that diagnosis. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just difficult, man, to be there and she starts off mom, and then she's talking to you about you. Like, my son James, I don't know if you know him, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it's difficult. Yeah. Bro, dementia, Alzheimer's is one of those things, bro. It's like, it's, you know, like you in it, so it's tough.
Yeah. Okay.
And for a long time, like I was paused on going because I'm like, yo, she not gonna remember anyway, you know. So as far as she know, I was here yesterday.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it was one of those things of me avoiding or suppressing the fact that I needed to capture or have that connectivity while she's still here, you know. And although she's here physically, but presently, is, you know, it can be difficult at times, but I'm working with it, I'm navigating it, and I enjoy it because she's still funny and she's still my mom at the end of the day, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I like how you reframed it, bro.
Yeah.
I like how you reframed it because I feel like you talked about initially, the way you framed it was like, man, this don't make no sense and I don't want to see my mom like that. But at the same time, like you talked about, I think earlier you talked about like, I don't know if you were talking about having regret. But like either way, like I feel like me personally, like if that was my situation, like I think there would be like regret, you know? So like I'm glad you're getting to a point where you're going consistently, you know, you guys are having those conversations. And that's, bro, I feel like that's every child's like biggest like fear, right? Maybe we don't think about it too much if we're not actually going through it, but I don't know, I'm a little weird. Sometimes I think about a lot of like crazy scenarios with my parents. Sometimes I think about stuff with my parents and I'll start crying and it's not even happening, right? Like I'll think about my parents not being here and I'll just cry. Like, so like just hearing your situation and what you're going through, bro, I know it's going to be impactful for some folks that are like listening that have been through the process of like either being a caregiver or like seeing their parents in a home and having to visit and all that kind of stuff, bro. Like, so they'll definitely be able to relate, but it's also helpful for me to realize like, yo, if that was my situation, this is potentially a route that I can take where it's like, maybe I do weekly visits or like I'll do every cadence. You know, I'll do a monthly cadence or whatever the case may be and just go and just, you know, chill.
This is one of the benefits to it. You definitely got to find your own system and your own pattern.
Right.
My wife helped me realize that that was probably something, like I knew in the back of my mind, like it's something that I needed to foster again. But I also knew like, yo, this is going to be way too difficult for me and I ain't trying to, like I was avoiding it for those reasons, like, which realized, yo, I'm tripping. Like, am I being hypocritical for not engaging where I need to? Am I not leaning into where I need to?
Yeah.
So to be doing that now is definitely beneficial, but I can't even hold you. Like it's tough to be there and it feels like, yo, it's so redundant because
you just keep having the same conversation.
Same conversation. She's not remembering. But so now I more so enjoy the moments opposed to like, while I'm there, you know what I'm saying? It's more so we here, we connecting, you know. But it's a shock at first because again, like she know who you are, and then sometimes like when I got there, man, she walked right past me, not knowing I was there for her.
Right.
Like staff will go and get her, and she'll come in the joint, look around, walk right past me. I'm like, Mom, and she'll like. I was like, Mom, it's me. And then, you know, she'll sit down and we'll start chopping it up. But to go through that is difficult, bro. Like, it's tough on you.
Yeah, bro. I'm glad you're putting, like, visuals to it, too, because I feel like it's hard for people that aren't actually in it to understand some of the scenarios that will play out. Like, you going there and her walking by you. Like, you don't think about those things.
You don't. And to have a discussion with somebody and then all of a sudden they not know that you're the person that y'all talking about or whatever the case is, or, you know, not like, you know, to have grandkids and not be able to, you know, because I don't want to put them in an awkward state of,
like having to constantly repeat themselves.
Yeah, or get annoyed because she don't remember or asks like, who are you? Or, you know what I'm saying? So that's difficult too, because obviously you want your kids to have that relationship, but it's one of those things of, yo, like my daughters are 18 and 13. So I don't want to put them in a position to where they feel like, you know what I mean? They get turned off by it. So now as they continue to cognitively grow and understand people are different and they go through things, I'll introduce that discussion and or have mom, you know, like do dinner or something like that and try to foster what that looks like. But it's going to be a process in itself too, just because they're their own people and I don't want them to feel like, like have those adverse experiences similar to what I had.
Right. Have you ever cried about it?
Yeah. Like it was, I remember probably a couple times, but specifically one time I remember I was leaving her and my wife had hit me, and then we do check-ins with her. She said, "How you feel?" She said, "You need a minute?" I said, "Yeah." So we hung up. I think we was having a cook-off. So I'm on the way home thinking about what I got to grill, but I got tourists coming down, guests on the way, So it just was one of those things, man. But the wife allowed me to have that space because normally we talk on the way home, whatever the case is. But she was like, how you feel? He's like, "Yeah, just give me a moment." So just thinking about it, like, yo. When I get home, I got to cook the grill, and then I'm balling, bro, just thinking about, I just left my mom, and Shorty didn't even know, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Nah, and I appreciate you being vulnerable and sharing that, bro, because I feel like sometimes for us as men, we may think that because of what we're going, like, we may think that it's not acceptable for us to cry or like be emotional about what we're going through. Like, why am I upset about this? I can't acknowledge that feeling. Like we talked about the suppression earlier, right? So like, I think it's important for us to actually hear from people that are going through the thing and actually hear like, yo, nah, this is something that I cry about. Like I was thinking about the fact that I had to grill, but then at the same time, I'm also thinking about this other thing and it made me cry. So like, I appreciate you sharing that, bro, for sure, man. I have one last question for you, bro.
Yeah.
For the black man right now that's struggling, that has a lot on his mind, a lot of things that he's dealing with, what would you say to him? And this is something I want you to look directly in the camera. I'm not even here. And whatever comes to mind, it could be about whatever struggles, it could be about what we talked about today or something completely different. Whatever just comes to mind, I want you to say it directly to the black man.
Yeah, my brother. Listen, I want you to ignore the perception of others. Do what's best for you in these situations. You definitely want to ensure that if you need help, you're getting help, whether that's you doing the self-work yourself, whether that's lifestyle changes or choices, and or seeing somebody. It's okay to process those things. It's also okay to feel your feelings. So do what else you need to do for you and ignore the perception of others. If you listen to others, you're going to have the mindset of, they're going to judge me for going, or they're going to vilify me for going, or they're going to say I'm soft, I'm weak, or whatever the case is if I express emotions or display my feelings. Ignore all that, man. Do what's best for you because, again, you're going to help yourself. Then you're going to vicariously help the people around you, which is probably your family, which in most cases would then better a community and so much other spaces that we can be a part of and grow within. So definitely ignore the perception of others and do what's best for you in those situations.
My brother, listen, before we close, you are dripped out right now. You got your Men to Heal shirt on. You got the Men to Heal hat. Tell the people how they can find you, how they can support you. Is the hat? I don't think the hat's available. I think that your wife made that, right?
The hat not available. Somebody else made this, man.
Okay.
A lady right here in D.C. She make hats.
Okay.
Forgive me, I don't know her name off top because I got this maybe 7 years ago. Yeah. So lady did make this for me. But as far as the shirts, of course, you can purchase the shirt on my website. You can also purchase my book, Man, Just Express Yourself, which is an interactive planning guide for boys and men to better express themselves. Because sometimes it's difficulty, within that expressing of self. So it's not that men and boys don't express themselves. It's just oftentimes they don't articulate the way verbally that people want to hear it. It comes out as reckless behavior and or being promiscuous and or, just anger or whatever the case is. So, we can give them that as a tool. So it's interactive. It's maybe 65 different prompts in there that people can do. So if you're a parent or a partner, you can highlight different topics, give it to that boy or man, and then, have them do those exercises and get back with you. Check back in with them and see if they've done them. Y'all talk about them together. And then also my board game is on there, Cheesy Dates, which is a good tool for relationships and or gifts for people who are getting married. It's one of those things, man. You can play at your girls' night, your boys' night with different couples. You can play with your partner one-on-one. It's pretty much a board game, 18 by 18 board game, which is similar size of the Monopoly board game, but it comes with two card decks. One card deck is different date ideas, because sometimes people run low on spontaneity. You get tired of the movies and out to eat. So it's over 65 different date ideas. Then the other card deck is different questions that you should ask throughout your relationship and or your group of people, just to get that perspective. Some of those questions are on finances, intimacy, social issues, and so many different topics that people tend not to talk about until it's too late or until it's actually happening. And the interesting thing, created a board game inside the pandemic, because one, people were stuck together and they realized they weren't compatible. They grew apart. So a lot of the questions came from actual sessions that I had with different couples. Mm-hmm. So I appreciate it. The website is www.mentoheal.com, www.mentoheal.com. And also I do have a YouTube video that talks about so many different topics that we discuss here. So that YouTube is Men to Heal, mentoheal.com. Of course, you can subscribe there from my website, but we talked about trauma, we talked about a little bit about attachment styles and so many other things, but there's so many different videos on there in which you probably can get educated with and or sent to a man that's in your life so they can do the research.
Yeah, for sure. And then Instagram is men_to_heal, right?
That's right. Yep. Okay. Men_to_HEAL. And you can get that through my website as well.
Listen, y'all tap in with this brother. If there's anybody that we've had on this podcast that I want people to tap in with, it's James, bro. This is when I tell y'all, like I did the intro already, I already heard, I'm gonna say it again. This is a genuine good dude, good brother that when we first started the podcast, before anybody really gave us recognition, I was reaching out to folks. Folks was ignoring me, bro. Ignoring me. Straight up ignoring me. James was someone that gave us a shot, allowed us to do it live. And that really helped us to continue with what we're doing, bro. So this is someone that I really want to support. I want y'all to support. Share his stuff, buy his stuff, support what he's doing, because this is a good dude, and good dudes and good people deserve to win, man. So I appreciate y'all listening, James. I appreciate you being here and for you being here.
Thanks for having me, man. Keep
bro.
Going, bro. Keep raising the bar.
Absolutely, bro.
Thank you so much for watching this episode. If you are planning an event or you are part of your organization's Black employee group and you are interested in having dope Black mental health professionals or myself come in and do a speaking engagement or a workshop or a keynote address or a panel, please click the link in our bio on Instagram or TikTok, scroll down and click book us for speaking and brand deals and fill out the form available on our website. Once you fill out the form, one of our team members will get back to you about how we can collaborate and create something dope for your organization. This is an unparalleled opportunity. We are currently the largest Black men's mental health platform, and we have a few slots available for our calendar year, and we would love to partner with you to create something dope for your organization if it makes sense for both parties, right? So go to the link in our bio, scroll down, click book us for speaking and brand deals, and fill out that form. If you're not on Instagram, the link should be linked in our description of this episode. And it is also on our website. If you go to expressyourselfblackman.com/speaking-brand-deals. That's expressyourselfblackman.com/speaking-brand-deals. If you are looking for a therapist, a Black therapist, and you've had a hard time finding one, you've jumped from therapist to therapist, or you just don't know how to find a therapist, we are teaching a free webinar. It's completely free, taking you from not knowing how to find a therapist, not knowing where to search for therapists, struggling with finding good therapists for you, not knowing what to look for in therapists, teaching you all of those different things, and also giving you the opportunity at the end of the webinar to be connected with one of our safe haven healers who are Black mental health professionals so that you do not have to go through the struggles of finding a Black therapist alone anymore, right? So if you're interested in that, you want to get connected with a Black mental health professional at the end of the webinar, or you just want to learn how to find a Black therapist by yourself, you can sign up for the free webinar. It's linked in our bio on Instagram and TikTok. You just click that free webinar link once you click the link in our bio and fill out the form. You can also find it on our website at expressyourselfblackman.com/links and fill out the form there for our next webinar session. If you're not interested in any of that, right? But you know someone that may be interested in it. All we ask is that you please share it. If you want some of the merch that we show on the platform all the time, that we're wearing on the platform all the time, you can shop it at shop.expressyourselfblackman.com. And once again, we just want to say thank you so much for watching this episode. Thank you so much for supporting us. Please, if you are on YouTube, leave a like, subscribe, comment. If you're listening to this on an audio platform, please leave a review. It helps us out greatly. Thank you so much for your support. We're wishing you nothing but the best. We're sending you and your family and your loved ones love and light. Peace.
Sometimes I know you feel like you ain't got nobody to speak to. A shoulder to lean on somebody you could preach to. No, you need to hear it, my brother, I love you. We got way too much to live for.